weather is blowing more than 15 knots, it's probably not really worth to go out there, if that makes sense. And particularly westerly, obviously, it's really rough out there. So the reason being is that it's just, it's quite hard to get it back up to get the line because it's so far down. Unless you've got no current and you're just lucky on the day, it's very hard to keep yourself on top of the lure or the bait, or whatever it might be. So you're wasting all that fuel and effort to go out there. So over 15 knots on the charts, just don't go. Simple as that. If you're out there and it comes up over 15 knots, then you'll learn about how to handle that sort of weather, because you've got nothing else to do but handle it. So good luck. But the main thing I was to emphasise, particularly around about that sort of late October, November, which is a great time to fish out there, by the way, through to about March is the current. And if it's okay as a current and it's got northerly, that's fine. But if you've got current against the southerly, it's quite ugly. It's like run out tide and the sea wave 2 metres away, is right. And run out tide sort of stands up and caps over. It's constantly sort of capping at the top and rolling, and gets a bit scary and quite steep. But anyhow, hope you don't get that situation. Okay, first thing to start with the gear, like I'm going to go out fishing for the day, or maybe preparation before I go fishing, and then we're going to actually go out there and pretend we're doing it, okay? So first thing I'll do is rods and reels. I'll start at that section first, and then we'll go to the gear to do your rig. So this is electrics first, okay? How many guys here fish by hand in that sort of 200 to 400 metre mark? You're all clever. Well done. Okay. Or you're older like me. One of the two. So this is where I'd start at, okay? This is a little Plays, and I've got one of these, and I use it in 400 metres, believe it or not. And it's quite a good little reel. I'm pretty impressed. Bar caught up to about 20, 30 kilos, one at a time, fine. Flamies, 2 of them at a time, fine. Get a big cod on or a couple of cod on, it struggles, okay? But it will do the job okay. The beauty of this sort of combo is the price. It's not too bad, which I'll talk about a bit later. So it holds 600 metres of 80 pounds, okay? And the rods tag them. Now I used to tag them and other rods too, but this is the rod I really like on most reels up to the bigger reels. So they're rated to 120 pound line, P10, and they're very soft, but they're also very, very strong. So that's that fellow. That's the Shimano reel, okay? Now Diver do an equivalent reel in an 800 size, which is this one here. I'll show you. So bang for buck, they're both very similar. And the size is very similar, but the Diver's a bit chunkier because the motor's actually in the spool, so the spool's quite thick, as you can see, and the shallow sides on there, but it does hold 600 metres of 80 pound braid, even though it's a bit bigger reel, a bit heavier reel. Price is about the same, which we'll talk about a bit later. So that's where you got to start at, guys, in a reel. Anything under that's not going to be suffice unless you're jigging with it. But if you're going to put a 2 kilo lead on, it's not going to really do the job that well. Next one up is our biggest seller, which is a Shimano Force Master. I've also got one of these, and these are a good reel. They hold 1,000 metres of 80, and same rod, just a bit more capacity, but a lot more grunt. So 2 bar cod, 30 kilos each, just rips them up. Okay. What else you got on there? Diver 2 do a reel in equivalent to that, which is a 1200 size, which is here. And they do 2 models of it. So they do 2 models too. They do the Force Master and the Beast Master. The Beast Master's got a new model coming out soon, but the only difference between the new model and the old model is the screen's colour. The reels, the motor, everything else is pretty well the same. So if you've got a current model Beastmaster, you're worried about the new one coming out, what's the difference? The screen, okay? This is a 1200 size in the Daiwa. Now this is the standard model, the Tenacom, which is like not quite as strong as the Force Master, but in that category, but it's a few $100 cheaper because it's not quite the power. And then we've got the C Power, which is probably stronger than the Force Master, but not as strong as the Beast Master, if that makes sense. Okay. They're around about $1,100 sort of thing for that reel, and the Sea Power's a couple of bucks here. And those, just to let you know too, the reason I've got that promo sign on there, I don't know if you guys know, we're running a promo at the moment with Daiwa, and for any $50 spend on Daiwa at the moment, can be lures, I don't care what it is, line, whatever. You get a ticket, and then we draw it at the end of August, and you can win that reel and line. It's any $50 spend. Okay. There is one more. So sorry, didn't tell. This is another combo we got at the moment. This is a Daiwa as well. This is the old Tenacom, which that new model there superseded this one. So a little bit bigger in capacity. So it now holds 1,000 metres of 80. This one holds about 750. This is sort of in between the two Shimano. So it sits sort of down the bottom of the rank, but a little bit high, a bit more than that one there, than the Plays. And they're on special too, which I'll tell you about later as well. I won't talk about pricing on the camera, guys, if that's all right. Okay. Okay, so that's the rods and reels. So any questions on that? Oh, there is one more, sorry. There's a big beast. So this is my beast, which is a Mia Epic. We also sell these too, by the way. So this is a real reel. This is a man's reel. Oh, ladies can use it too. So this is a 9SP. I bought this in Japan. My wife's Japanese, obviously. Before Mia was in Australia, so I bought it back in 2001, I think it was, or 2002. And I don't really look after my gear because my objective is the worst case scenario of you guys using your gear, right? I treat them like crap. This thing here has caught, I don't know how many fish. Probably done, deep drop I normally do about at least 30 trips a year. So it's probably done, I don't know, 600 trips maybe. And it's really, really going as good as the day I got it nearly. So they're a really tough reel. They're a commercial reel made for commercial guys in Japan, but worldwide, of course. The rod's just a heavy rod. I've gone through 3 rods on this reel, actually. That's the 3rd one now. Different rods, though. And they're just really good reels, but they're expensive. So I think the reel without the rod, without lines, about 4.5K or 4.8, I think it is. So they're up there, but you buy them once and that's it forever. Okay. That one holds 1,400 metres of 130 pound. So it'll fish anything you can give it. Okay. But I have caught a few big bass groper in that 70, 75 kilos size, and it still struggles a bit. Okay. Yeah, just a little bit. Sorry? Batteries, yeah. I've got it on the charger, Graham. Do you mind to grab it for me, mate? It's just in on the desk. I sit there next to me, Psycho, mate. Sorry, Graham, just brought up a good point. So previously in the past, we've always just hooked it straight onto the battery or got them in coda plug or whatever type Anderson plug and hooked them up, right? There's a new battery out. Some of you guys, anyone using the new lithium batteries on their rods yet? No? You guys are all missing out. Okay, so we can't get it at the moment because they're sold out, and we sell 3 to 5 a week. But it's been on Australia now for about 2 months nearly. They were meant to be in 5 days ago. I was hoping they'd be here tonight, but we're still waiting. So I spoke to the supplier today. He can't give me an answer, but he said it's in the next week sort of thing. So I'll be back in. They are about $400, but this little thing's about the size of a toothpaste box, sorry. Will run my reel for about 2 days. So if I'm out deep dropping in 300 to 400 metres and I do 20 drops in a day, it's still running about half. And that's it right there. Thanks, Graham.
Okay, sorry guys. It's got an LE with a number plate 2278
All good, buddy? I'll wait for you, mate. All good, buddy. So that's it. It's just very tiny. It's a lithium battery. It has a little test thing on the back here that tells me how charged up it is. It's fully charged. I charged it today. Thanks, Graham, for getting that. It straps onto the rod. I'll show you how it straps on. thing is though, it like turbocharges your reel. So what I mean by that is, I don't know what it does, and I'm not a battery guy, some of you guys may be, but it gives it about a boost of probably about 30% or 50% more power. I don't know how it works.
They go faster.
They get a lot faster. So when we're spooling up reels here, we use it for spooling up all the time because it's quicker than us using the battery downstairs, the car battery, you know. And when we're busy, that's what we use. The second thing is, we've done the test out. We're fishing out, and the first test we did was in 310 metres or something. And my mate was plugged in with his Minn Kota plug into his side of his boat. And I had this battery on. And we both had no fish on. We just had our sinkers and our bait. We both did not a good drift. And I said, okay, what are you at? And he said, I think it was 322 or something like that. And I was about 320 something. And I said, okay, let's have a race to the top. And I said, ready? And we both pushed the button at the same time. And he was still, I think, 140 metres when I was to the top. So that's a big difference. Is it good for the reel? I don't know. We haven't had any problems yet, and we sold about, I think, close to 100 batteries now. So there's 100 guys out there using it. But I dare say it's not too bad. Yeah, they do. So they'll plug into any Shimano, any dial reel. The screw cap, because they're different on both reels, it doesn't screw down, but you can sort of get like a bit of a turn on just to keep the water out. These things are fully waterproof, so waves over them doesn't hurt them. They're in a very good shield here. To charge it up, it's just a plug into your wall, and it screws into that little socket there, just like you're going to screw it to your reel, and away you go. So that just goes into the end. If you saw the guys down the back there, I know you can't see, but you can look at it later. I've put my glasses on, sorry guys. Oh, there's a little, obviously on all the reels there's a little key, you got to get it right. Okay. So it sits, obviously sitting in the rod holder. I should put a rod holder in this thing here, but obviously you can see it's on there, down the back down there. So I'll just give you some idea how good it is. Graham, would you mind to just rip out 10 metres? That's why Graham's here. Graham's a good helper. So obviously, guys, you must always set your reels at 0, top level, okay? What that means is like an elevator, so it comes screaming up and hits the 0, and it just slows right down like that, and the fish are just there. Oh, okay, that's 15 metres out. That's great, Graham, thank you. Take the slack line there. Thanks, Graham. Just don't burn your fingers, mate. So it's obviously power on. It's very fast, and it slows down as it's down to 6 metres. So you can actually change on all the reels. Most of them stop. It has a safety thing like between 1 and 6. So you can change that to 1 metre instead of 6. But if it hits a 6, all you do is push it forward again. I'll take up the last metre back to a metre, and that's a metre right there. Thank you, Graham. Cheers, mate. So if I was to plug that into on the battery downstairs, it's not that fast. Now, when you're catching fish, you don't want to be that fast because you'll end up ripping the fish off the hooks. So we only use it in fast mode when we haven't got a fish on, okay? Which means you've got maybe another drop or two in the day to fish with at the end of the day for that time you saved.
Does the battery have to be on the rod all the time?
No, there is a longer lead one you can put into the side deck. It's a lead about that long, and you could just drop it into the coaming somewhere and fish it out of the rod holder. Or you have it on the rod. We've got guys that have like that put on little jig reels. So Daiwa do 2 great reels for jigging as well. They're called Leo Brits 300 and 500. The Leo Brits 500 is our biggest seller, but haven't had any for 3 months. We're still waiting for stock because worldwide they've sold out. It's just an absolute killer. Good enough for probably bark caught up to 20 kilos or 30 kilo maybe. It's only small, but it holds 500 metres of a P40 4 or 5, yeah. 600 metres P4, I think it is. 600 metres P4 is about 70 pounds, so it's a perfect amount of line and everything, but you put it onto like a jig rod, like this type of thing here, so a lot lighter rod. So when you put the battery on there, you know, so actually this particular rod actually has it on here, but what guys are doing is putting it on the back part down here, up high, and still putting it in the rod holder. So they jig with it. I'll talk about this a bit later, but then they sit it straight. Once they hook up, they put it in the rod holder, just push the button. Because that's the hardest part, winding it up by hand. But yeah, that's it. So any questions on the gear there at all, guys? We'll get to the next part.
Just
yes.
With the length of rod, have you
yeah.
found like a longer rod?
Yeah, better.
A bit better around the
100%. 100%.
So, like, forever having to pull the short one out.
Now that I've sold enough braid for the guys that cut off with their props, I can now tell you it's better to have a longer rod. It is much better, mate. And I really like this Saltus rod from Dyer. It's super long. But I find the Tagan's not too bad. But when they first come out, the little Revolution Shimano, it was like this long. It was tiny. Yeah. And I tried to tell them back then.
Yeah, I just find the longer the better.
Yeah. Well, Dyer's Saltus used to be shorter than this. They're now long. And they got a whole new range of rods down there. Yeah, that's right. So this is the other thing too, which I want to talk about a bit later, but I'll tell you now. So I don't know if you guys know, but in the rod holders, you can get like a swivel base. We sell them down there. And it's a little riser that sits into your rod holder, and they're ball bearing or nylon bearing and ball bearing, two models. And the rod will sit there, and it sits obviously straight. The weight of whatever it is pulls it straight. But when you get the fish up close to the deck, you just grab the rod, or even just the weight of holding the line, and it swings it around horizontal with the side of the boat. So the fish are just there, and grab and pulled in and sinker as well. It's a great idea. They're not cheap. I think they're maybe around, I don't want to say the price, 80 or 100 bucks each. Well, but they're little, yeah, well, that's right. It's cheaper. It's cheaper, okay. Yeah, but those push button ones are great too, mate. That's the other way to do it. Yeah, they're great as well. But because that's always a pain trying to reach out to get the gaff and pull your line in. It's painful. So you have the beauty of a short rod, but the line's just there, but gets caught around the prop all the time. Or you go the longer one, but do it that way. Yeah. Good question. Okay. So all good on the rods and reels? So Dyer and Shimano both make great product, both great gear. And obviously Mia Epic is the cream of the crop. Okay. That's all right, Graham? Not you, mate? That's all right. Okay, we're going to go to the gear. So we've now got our rods, reels and line. So on the end of our line, we always run a wind-on leader. Does anyone here not know what a wind-on leader is? Okay, some of you may not, but what it is, I'll pass this around. Sorry, Graham, do you want to pass that around, buddy? So what it is, it's a piece of line about 6 metres long. It has a braided loop on one end. So what we do is on the end of the braid, we just do a quick bimini twist about this long, make a loop, and then we cat's paw loop to loop, if that makes sense. Doesn't show in the back here, but we can show downstairs. And we pull the loop to loop up together. So instead of using a snap swivel or a swivel, we've now got a leader on our deep drop rod that's 6 metres long, and it takes out all that, so it gives it stretch and takes out all that rigidity when you pull the big fish up. Because it's really important to have a tip that has a lot of go on it, because those big cod have got a big mouth, and when they pull back down, this is the first sort of 100 metres when they're at their hardest, and it gives it that stretch, which is really important. So if you've got too stiff a rod and no stretch, and you're winding too fast, you just rip the hooks out all the time, so you lose tipping fish. It's like bound this, like, and it just goes like that. You've lost it. So you need some bit of stretch. On the end, as it comes off the end of the rod, we put a snap swivel on that. So that's a wind-on leader there. And it's great because you sort of got some inclination that your line's coming up 6 metres. Although you can see the gauge on the reel, you just know it's close by. Other thing too, if you've got a big cod on, I don't know if any guys have caught big cod, sort of 30, 40, 50 kilos, they come up about 60, 80 metres behind the boat. They come to the surface. They just blow up and come up out that way. And again, it's just something at the end to grab and pull the cod in, whatever, and gaff, whatever it might be. So snap swivel, use the size 7 snap swivel, which you've got in your bags. That's quite a big snapsail, which is the same size on that one there. You can run a bit of tube above it, just for a bit of lumo, but not a necessity, but it does help. It doesn't get, sometimes if your line is broken off or whatever it might be, and you've lost your 0-0 and you haven't reset it to 0-0, so next time it thinks it's still 20 metres out, but it's trying to rip the rig through the rod. Ever had that problem before? You may have. That'll sort of save the tip from getting pulled out because it's rubber. So it's a good thing maybe to have that on there as well. Protect it, because it'll try and bend the rod tip around and can snap rods too, because your motor's quite powerful in that little reel. So we've got now the snapsail on the end. Then we go to our rig. So we always emphasise for you guys to make your own rig. So the rig that you've got in your bags tonight is a lighter one we use for pearl perch and flame snapper. It's a 130 pound leader. I'll show you the blue light later how it works. But it's on UV leader, and those little skirts that are on there are UV, they're blue colour, so the colour that just really turns the fish on. Has anyone ever used blue skirts before? If you have, you know what I mean. They're extremely good. Graham does a lot of our rigging, and he's very good at it. So any dramas tonight, if your rigs fall apart, yeah, they won't. He makes too many. And then our next rig we do, which is not anything, we do a heavy rig. So that rig there, I'm going to be using that from 100 metres to probably around 300. I've pulled up many cods around that 20-30 kilo, but I've also lost a couple where they've taken that hook down too much, and in the fight they've rasped and gone through the 130. So then we jump up to the next one, which is 200 pound. It's a bit heavier, a bit bigger hook. We sell these downstairs, but as I say to you in a minute about suggesting making your own. Then the next heavy one, which is the one we use out. So that one there we use also in that 100 to 300 metre mark, which is a bit heavier. And then the next one we do is this one here, which is 300 pound branch and 300 pound main. So if you're fishing in that sort of 400 metre, you get into bass groper country. So you don't get many bass groper under about 320 metres or 350 metres. They're like 4, 5, 550 metres, okay? And the 300 pound just doesn't miss, doesn't rasp. The only time I've ever had one of those come undone was on a, I think it might have been a swordfish we hooked up at the bottom once, down at Tweed one time, many years ago. But other than that, they don't come off unless you get wrapped around the prop or something, or snagged. They're very strong. Jason from Aussie Leader Systems also does a UV style one as well. This one, he does 3 or 4 sizes. This is 300 pound as well, 14-0, and UV, light UV leader. It's very good. So what I'm getting at is the leader needs to be at least 130 pounds, okay? That's in close. And as I said, when you're going out that little bit deeper into 300-400 metres, you got a chance of getting a bass groper. They're a lot bigger. So they're like, you don't get many bass groper under about 30 kilo, 40 to 60 is probably the average size. And they have a very raspy mouth, and that very easy to go through the leader. So my suggestion is use at least 200 out there, okay? We do sell the UV leader in 20 metre hanks like so. It's very hard to get, and most stuff is not UV, but this stuff is. So UV is, I don't know what it does to the fish, but it seems to, but it seems to get them going. So we've done the test with UV versus UV. This guy's getting heaps more bites. We've also done the test with sinkers, steel versus lead. The lead gets a lot more bites. We sell both sinkers, but lead's by far better. I think the ting of steel's not that good.
Incredibly supple too.
Very supple, yeah, very supple as well. And it also comes in 130, it comes at 150, 150, 130, 150 and 200, yeah.
So you put that on your 80 pound rate?
Yep. Mm. Not because of strength. Yeah, getting to that next. Yeah, that's cool. So that's your leader. So to make your own leaders up, my suggestion is, because you've got one leader there today, is to buy the gear and copy and make it. So it's a lot cheaper for you guys to make it than to buy it off us, because it takes time to make it, right? And you buy everything in bulk. So you've got the hooks in your bag as well. So these are 8.0 hooks, and they're really good hooks. These are I always get how to say this word properly, Matsuring. They're a great hook, and they're very strong, so they'll still catch a small flame snapper or pearl perch, whatever, but they'll also catch a 30-kilo cod without any stress of it bending. They're very sharp and very good. And the secret of deep water fishing is to understand to use small hooks rather than big hooks, because you get a lot of other type species that, if you've got like 14-0s on and you're dropping down, you can get like ornates and job fishing and other things that are going to be hammering that bait. And if you've got a 14-0 hook, you'll bring up and there'll be no bait on the hooks, they'll just be gone. And you've had the opportunity of catching some type of fish down the bottom there, one of those sea cods, I think they're called, they're like an orange thing, sea perch. And if you're running like an 8-0 hook, it's still strong enough for the biggest cod you're going to catch and still okay to catch it. You're going to definitely get a chance to catch that smaller species that are really good to eat, like really good to eat. Okay, that's why we use small hooks, but we sell big hooks. The other thing I often do too is off the top of the rig before I go to the sinker part, on the top of the rig on the snap, I'll often run sometimes a dress gang, like that type of thing there. I'll pass this around too. Or something like this type of thing here, which is this is a snap, so I put my snap onto the snap. Does that make sense? Like to me, so rather than 3 hooks, I'd rather run 4. Not because I get 4 fish, but I got more chance of getting, I'm not trying to get 4 fish, but I have more chance of getting another fish with my bait, because it takes a long time to go up and down. Average is about probably 20 minutes in about 300 metres. By the time you drop it down, back up, get the bite, get the fish up, or miss the fish and get the bait up. So unless you're using that supercharged battery, it's a bit faster, okay? But it allows me to have another bait down there, because sometimes we get other stuff or peck at it, whatever. Yeah, so I'll run those 2 options there. And with the gang hook, all I do is I add about 130-pound leader, about that long, and I put a swivel on the end, and I put that on the snap. So swivel, leader, gang hook. I put a strip of mullet, or even a pilchard on there, gari, whatever I can find, squid, whatever's big. Drop it down there. Before you get the sinker, next thing, lights. So you've got a blue and a green light in your bag of different types, whichever, depends what bag, what we had at the time, what you guys got there. But lights, I think, are essential. Again, we've done test lights versus no lights. I think a light is definitely probably a greater enhancement of bites. It doesn't put them off. Some people say it attracts the green eyes, but trust me, green eye sharks will come to anything. Lights, no lights, steel, sinker, lead, doesn't matter. They rock up. So I'd suggest using lights as much as you can. They're always water activated, so which means, and they last for about, I think it's about 100 or 200 hours, but they turn themselves off once they dry out. So you'll see it flicker away in the shed once you've washed them in the hose, and then they'll just, the next day you walk in there, it's turned off. So they've got 2 little points on the side. As soon as you touch it, they click on, okay? And there's blue, green, multicolours. I find blue and green is still the best. Okay. Now we're up to the sinker stage. So that sits at the top on the snap swivel, right at the top up here, top of your rig. So that clips on, the rig clips on, the extra hook might clip on. That's all hanging off that one snap. And then you got your rig down there. You got a swivel on the end of your rig. Your rig's about maybe 3 or 4 metres long. And on the end of that, we're going to run some about 100-pound just mono as a breakaway. I used to use lighter, but sinkers are too expensive, guys. They're too expensive. So my suggestion is to run a 100-pound leader. And a 100-pound leader will pull off most of the things. Even though your braid's 80, this is still going to break at the knot way under 80. Okay, knot's going to probably be 60-pound or something like that. Knots, unless you do really good knots, I don't know about. But it will probably break at the knot, or it'll cut, or something like that. Otherwise, you've got a chance of pulling it out of the bottom. I think there's a lot of mud down there as well, like soft mud. So a lot of times I get sinkers back and they've got mud on them. And other times I think there's a lot of fern and stuff down there, and it drags through the fern and gets stuck, but the hooks pull off it, or the sinker pulls off it. But a 100-pound is quite hard to break, and we'll get most of it. Sometimes you get a bad one where I might drop down a rock crevice, on the bottom, and you just land it straight down the slot, and it's locked in there. You just can't do anything. It's very hard to break. So you back the boat up, you drive the boat forward, drive it around. Guys with the lines down get mad because their line's about there now. But it's just part of the parcel, and you've just got to more or less try and crank the drag up as much as you can. Hold the spool, be careful not to break the tip of the rodicles, and just pop it. And it'll break somewhere in the line, somewhere. Hopefully not on your braid. So then at the bottom of that, so I make my breakaway about probably 1.5 meters long. It's quite long. The reason being is I can get my fish in the boat and my sinker's still down below the boat. It's not hanging on the side of the boat. And I can lift the sinker in the boat. You probably need to have a glove on the back of the deck because quite lifting up 3 kilos, if you got 3 kilos, sinker one's quite heavy. And if you got 100 pound, strong hands are right, you just grab it, but if you got soft hands, it might cut. Sinker wise, so Timmy from S Tackle, so this is a new sinker out, and S Tackle, we've been waiting for someone to do Lumos sinkers, and we've been testing these for about, I don't know how many trips now, quite a few. Definitely better. So every one of you guys have got a 1 kilo one in there, which is what I use up to about 200 meters or 250 meters, depending on the day. And they're Lumo blue, they're not just blue, they're actually Lumo blue. So they glow. They do a Lumo green as well. Okay, and they do 1, 2 and 3 kilo sizes. I had a guy come this afternoon and bought all that 2 kilo ones, so I've only left for you guys tonight, sorry, but we'll have more tomorrow or Monday. But they're really good. So guys that have been using them now are really liking them. They're a little bit dearer than steel ones, but I think are definitely 100% worth it. You spend that money on juice getting out there, you want to spend another $5 on a sinker, you know? That's what it boils down to. So 1, 2 and 3 kilos. And those I'll talk about the deal of those later today, but they're great. And thanks for Timmy from S Tackle for doing that for you guys. Okay, so we've gone through all the hooks and all the stuff. Just one thing I want to show you too. In your hook rigs, so talking about making up your hook rigs before, there is a flasher version that you can get, which is this thing here. It's always hard to open this packet up. Great packaging. Okay, so you can buy hooks like this and make it. If you want to make up flash rigs, I pass these around. So these are a dressed hook, and I don't know if you got how many people have used dress hooks before, and how many people say they're better than normal hooks. I'd say if you haven't done the test, they are. These are a great hook too, by the way. So you can buy them like that. They work out about, with your discount, probably about $3.50 a hook. So if you put 3 on your line, it's like $10 a hook, so it's pretty cheap. And like those rigs like $30. So you can make up your rig cheaper with flasher hooks. We'd sell this rig probably rigged up for about $40. So it's an option to look at. I'll pass that around, you can have a look at it. Thanks, Graham. And there's all different sizes. That's an 8.0, there's like 8s, 9s, 10s, I think even 11s. They're quite a big hook. Yeah. In the lights too, I was saying before, there's green and blue. Then there's commercial type lights as well. This is a commercial one they use on swordfish long lines and tuna at night time. And these things, all these lights are down to about probably 800 metres. This one gets down deeper. Runs on, I think it's on 2 AA batteries. And it's just a twist on, twist off type system. But they're quite expensive in comparison to those lights. They're probably around about $35 versus $8 or something, okay? But quite good. It's probably about all I need to tell you, all the gears. Any questions on the gear then, guys, on rigging up your rigs?
We normally put the lights on the rig.
On the top, on the snap swivel, mate. So right at the top here, where you're gonna put your rig onto. So, sorry. That's amazing. Okay, so that's my snap swivel coming off the rod. And what I'll do is whatever, this is one you guys have got one of these, I think. So, glasses on again. So I'll put this on first, just through there's a little loop on the end there. Just put it on like so. And then I'll put my, the rig. So that's the rig, so the swivel goes on next, on the rig. And then if I want to be fancy, oh, it's gone around, sorry. One of those things going around, I'll clip that on as well, and that's it, and that just drops down. But the other end of this one here, I'm going to tie 1.5 meters of 100-pound line, and then I put a little loop on the end of that, and that little loop's going to go through the sinker, and the sinker's attached to that. So the whole rig's about probably a good 5 meters long, I guess. Roughly about 3 or 4 meters long, roughly speaking. Yeah. Yep.
If the electric reel's doing all the work, like
Yep.
any reason why you wouldn't just put 3 kilo?
Yes, that's right. So you're exactly right, matey. So like years ago, before we had electric reels and we deep drop them by hand, it was always like you drop, or you drop, that sort of thing. Since there's any fish down there, you know. And we try and do it with as light as things as we could because we had to wind it back up. There's no fish there. So now 2 kilo lead's probably, well, we fish like 300, 400 meters. So 2 kilos is like our go-to.
Why
And
wouldn't you just put a 3 kilo on?
because it's 3 kilo, because the one's price, that's another $10 deal, whatever it might be, 12, $15 deal. 2 is, it's sometimes it's a bit like when you're float lining. You use a smaller sinker, you get better fish. I think it's a little bit sometimes like that out there with them too. Less resistance, they pull the tug, it'll go with it a bit. Where if they've got 3 kilo, it's like, you know, I just get that mental feeling that sometimes. It's still a little bit of finesse, even though those fish are pretty archaic and primitive. they still know sometimes. I think it's a difference. It might only be 10% or 20% different, but it's still a difference. Yep. But when we're out in the abyss, in say 400 to 600 meters, we don't go under 3 kilos. It just goes straight down. And you're right. Some days there when the current's really bad, or we got a lot of windage or whatever, we just go straight to 3 kilo in 200 meters, mate. Yeah, and it's straight down. It's easy fishing. Yeah, for sure. And as you said, electric doesn't know the difference between 1 kilo and 3 kilos. Just push a button and up it comes. So yeah, it's a little bit harder to deploy. So it's the golden rule, guys, is when you're going to throw your line out. So you get your lines all baited up, and you hold the sinker and you put your hooks out first. So I generally put my hooks onto either somewhere on the back of the boat. If the boat doesn't have somewhere to put it on, I'll put like one hook on there, one hook on there, maybe 2 hooks on there, and they're all baited up, of course. Maybe one if I got another one, but normally I only get 3. And the sinker's sitting somewhere in the boat, and or in a bucket. And then when we arrive to the position and we've backed up and reversed up a little bit, it's ready to drop your lines, I'll throw that first hook in the water, then I'll do the second hook and the third hook, and then I'll grab my sinker and I make sure it's in the rod holder. I put my hand on the spool. I always throw it in the free spool, and then I just toss the sinker away from everyone's line that's already dropped around me, and then control it from here. Because if you've got 3 kilos, talk about 3 kilos here. If you've got 3 kilos on, it's quite aggressive on everything. So if you're not watching it, and even though these things have like you can actually set the motor in most of the reels that control the fall. So if you want to make it a bit tighter, it's got like, I don't know how it works. You hear the motor actually cut in a little bit. Sort of like puts a bit of a brake on it maybe. They do have a little screw thing on the side here too to tighten up as well. Okay, but generally speaking, it's just control of your thumb, and the motor will cut in when it's going too fast. You'll hear it. Yep. Or if you want to, it's a bit like a clutch. So other times I've had 4 kilos of lead long, so 4 kilos is quite aggressive. And I'll actually just push the motor just in gear a little bit. I can hear it just, sorry, it's not going to do it now because it's on 0, 0. I'm just waiting for it to cut in, but it won't. It needs to have line out. But you'll just hear it just cutting in, so it's sort of like going the other way, if that makes sense. It's going that way, but the motor's going that way. So it puts a little bit of halt on it, just a tiny bit. You've got to work it out. But be really careful. 1 and 2 kilos is easy. 3 and 4 is quite aggressive. And sometimes we've used 6 kilo, but on that big one. Yeah.
What's the reason to slow it down, Dougie?
Oh, because it just gets too out of control. You get backlash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't get backlash.
Definitely don't throw synchro first and then go.
No way, because it's just too dangerous. The hooks, the circle hooks, they're going to go straight in hard. Yeah. And you watch probably the tuna series on TV. You see like get a tuna circle the hook in their body somewhere. It's not good.
If you got white gunnels, we just sort of like land.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
In a line.
Yep. Ready to roll.
Point the sinker and then just go.
Oh, you could do that too. You could do that too. Yeah, if you got it set like that or on a just on something to hook over, that's fine. Yeah.
Divers have like an adjustment knob. You just sort of tighten up.
Yeah. Same with those. Yeah, same deal. Yeah.
You still have to keep an eye on it.
You got to keep an eye on it. That's what I'm saying. I normally put my hand there just to start. As soon as the first inertia of the sinker going, then I'll just let it go itself. Then. Yeah. Don't ever feather it on the way down. You want to get down as quick as it can get down, because that way it's less line out. It's straight down. You feather, it's going to end up right up there. Okay. Any questions on that at all?
Is it only, what, 3 hooks you're running? So you're not running more than
No, I run sometimes 6.
6 or something?
It depends. But generally speaking,
Regulation for Queensland?
yeah, 6. Yeah, New South Wales only 3.
Yeah, right.
So Queensland 6. Yeah, but really 4's enough. Yeah, 4's enough. That's why I run the extra one off the top sometimes. But most of the rigs we buy and we make are 3. But the flash ones that we're doing, which I think Jake's doing some more tonight, with those hooks going around, the dressed hooks, they're 4. Yeah, 4 hook one.
When you put those flashes on the top of the snaps, will they just attract or to hook up as well?
I've got bait on there to hook up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, yep. Any questions on that at all, guys, on the gear? Everyone's good? Okay, doing it. So this is the hardest part. That's the easy part. You guys need to understand drift. Drift is so important to understand your drift. You have to do a blind drift, which just means get your gear ready, bait up your hooks and just drift for at least 10 minutes maybe and see which way you drifted in that 10 minutes. You might even want to do a second drift, but I generally drop down on the first based on what I've just recorded on my track. I have your track always on a GPS. And calculate how far you drifted in that time period and then base that upon where you've just driven over and got good pictures on the bottom and marked it and marked it and marked it and marked it. Marked as much as you can on your sounder, by the way. On your GPS, sorry. And then you allow for that time to get to the bottom onto that first mark. So if you've drifted 300, 400 metres in 10 minutes, it takes you around about, with 2 kilos of lead in 300 metres, around about 4 to 6 minutes to get to the bottom depending on the wind. Okay, so about 4 minutes, around about. So in 4 minutes you can drift 300 metres, as we know. So it's no good landing on top of the fish. Oh, look, that's fantastic. Quick drop your lines. By the time you're at the bottom, you're off the pinnacle and down there somewhere. So you need to calculate that into your drift, really important. And generally our drift here has a little bit of northwest to southeast sort of. It's never straight like that. It's always on a little bit like that sort of drift. I don't know if you guys have noticed that out there at all. Even when it's blowing east, there's still that sort of drift for some reason. So if I'm going over bottom, I might mark a mark here. I've just driven over this area. I marked it on one here, and on one here, and on one here. And I know I've just done a dummy drift, and this might be on, say, 1.5 km of area. And my previous drift before I stopped here first. I drifted about that distance in, say, 5 minutes. Then I'm going to go up about here and drop my line up here. And hopefully I'll land, my lines are in the bottom about here before I get to that first spot with the fish on it. They're pretty basic. Then if I get a bite straight away, I know that's still about around 10 minutes drifting down to there based on that. So hopefully I can get my fish up. I'm probably going to miss that one there, but I know I'll get that one. Or my mate might get a fish there while my line's coming up, sort of thing. So the next 10 minutes, my line's coming up. I'll probably be in the boat around here, and hopefully he's getting a fish off that next lot. And then I've got my fish off, and I drop in here, and now I'm landing here, and I'm ready for the next one. So does that make sense? And that's how you try and time it. Some areas though might only be a one drift spot. You got a mark there, maybe mark there, and so you're going to start up here again, and hopefully you land about here, and you get one of those fish. If I get a fish here on my line, and this is my, sorry, that'll do. This is my rod here. Can you see that down the back there, guys? Yeah. Sort of, yep. My reel, my rod. That's not very good. They're black. Oh, here we go. One of our customers gave me some pens a while ago because the pens never work. I keep forgetting to use them. So that's my rod there. Sorry, and I've got something on, so it's starting to bend a bit, and I can feel it and watch it. It's got a fish on, but I'm here, and I think, okay, I'm cooked up, and I'm here. I've gone over that spot, but I know there's a fish coming up here. Now, unless it's a really good one, I won't pull it up. I'll just sacrifice, and hopefully it stays on there. Okay. When I get to here, at right about here, and I'm looking at the sound and I see the fish just starting to come up again. At that point, I'll put my thumb on the spool and I'll let out a bit of line so that rod just starts to go just a little bit softer, if that makes sense. So I can still see him bouncing, but I've given it a little bit of slack for the next lot of fish because I love slack. Like fishing in 40 metres, same deal. The fish, like you backed up, they like slack. So my line's now gone a little bit looser. It's not taut like before. And hopefully I can smack another fish here. So then all of a sudden my rod goes more this way, like this, and I think, okay, I've got two on now. And I'm now looking at the GPS, I'm about here, and I'll come straight up. And that's how you try and get like 2 or 3 on. Does that make sense? Yep.
You find you don't actually, when you do dummy drift, it's not the same as when
No.
you're bursting up.
100%.
And then you
So,
do it and you're like, how the hell are we over here?
I know, especially variable days. When the wind's like 5 to 10 knot variable, it's blowing like southeast, the next minute's blowing east or northeast. Those days, you know, you might be there, and you're going down the track, and next minute you'll start going this way. And it's like,
Start reversing.
yeah, and reversing is this other thing too. You reverse up because the wind might be now coming from the east. It's gone from this way, and you're drifting against the current here. Now the wind's going this way, so your line, your boat's starting to do a drift a bit more this way. So you reverse up a little bit, and when you reverse back into the wind, you know, it may take you a bit past it, or it might not quite get where you want to get because your line's already starting to get too far out. So you just got to just go with the flow, mate. But in saying that, I don't know how many, I'd say probably more than enough times to warrant going with the flow. We've found new spots where we haven't driven that way before. And we go, oh crap, look at this bottom, it's better than what we've been drifting. So,
Parachute help.
parachute does help, and you have plenty of time to pull it back in because you pull the lines up. So deep dropping, it's really good, yeah. Yeah, we sell parachutes downstairs. But they do keep you pretty on the same drift, but when the wind changes, they alter a little bit, just a little bit, but a lot straighter. But we have just a tendency to keep the motors going the whole time and back up a lot. So that's the other thing too. If I'm coming down this drift line here, and I'm near that spot, I'm about here, at that point there, or just right on it, I'll put it in reverse and back up a little bit. So I'm now got my lines, my rod's sort of gone quite loose, you know. My rod's sort of like that, and the line's like that down to the bottom. And I've got a little bit of a belly in it, and straight away you'll just get bites, normally. But if your line's taut and you drift past it, and your line's like that, like before, you won't get as many bites. You still get good big fish in the area, but you won't get the majority of fish.
far behind the boat is your bait actually? Like, is it 50 metres behind you?
No way. No, it's that angle.
It's pretty much.
And actually, when I'm backing up, I try to go past the line. It's hard when you've got three guys dropping at the same time on the boat. Two side ones, okay, you can sort of keep an eye on it. It's your mate over there, you say, where's your line? You can see your line. And so in the boat position,
Think about the current on the bottom versus the current on the top.
yeah, 100%. And you will get belly in your line too. You get days where the boat's like here and your line is like, feels like it's like that, but it's actually, like that sort of thing, if that makes sense, or whatever it may be with the current. And you'll be in 400 metres deep and you look at the gauge and it's saying 600 metres, like 580 or whatever. So you've got this massive belly, but your rod's loaded. It's really weird how it works. But you don't see any bites, and then you go, I'll pull my line up to go for another drift. You'll take up, when it gets to 400, all of a sudden the rod just loads up and you've actually had fish on there swimming around where you've been drifting on the hooks.
When you put your 3 kilos anchor on there?
Yeah, no, it still can do that though. Yeah, many times I've had heaps of lead on and still had, that's when the current's maybe running it. There might be a 5 knot current mid-water somewhere, but not on the top. But getting back to what we were saying before, that's the boat and the motor at the back here, and it's I'll just put the rod at the back here. And my lines, when it's about that angle there, mate, that's about time to back up, okay? And you want it to be, like I said, a little bit loose like that. But when I'm backing up, sometimes I'll bring that line forward so it's really loose. I've gone past the line, and in that period there when the boat drifts back to here and this catches up, that's when you get like a lot of bites. If you can time that on top of that or that or that or that or that, that's when you get like a lot of fish. And you actually, you'll just see the rod just goes crazy. It's bouncing like crazy. There's fish on it straight away.
Are you constantly touching bottom and then pulling up a touch?
I'm trying to hold the bottom most of the time. It pulls up naturally off the bottom, Tom, itself. It'll just, the current or whatever, just lift it a little bit. So it'll let a little bit more line out or back up the boat, one of the two. Yeah. I'm trying to keep in touch with the bottom the whole time.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. And if you got, like, flamies are a classic example. So if that's your sounder, and just say zoomed in, we're looking between 230 and 300 metres, and the bottom's 280 sort of thing. Here's a bit of a rough bottom here. And with flamies, you'll have like lots of dots like that. A bit of stuff on the bottom here, a few fish. And then you'll get, the dots will come up a bit higher and they'll normally sort of taper down. That might look more like that, okay? But when you hit the mother load of flame snapper, it's normally red colour on any sounder, and it'll be just like solid, like a it's not a good red, like a bait school, if that makes sense. It looks like a school of bait. So they're that densely populated, and there'll be a little bit of a strag through it. That's how the flamies show up. So you're actually looking like they're 25 metres off the bottom sort of thing. You know, you think, well, should I wind my line up 25 metres? No, don't. They don't like that. And we've done that. We've dragged through, got nothing. They'll swim down to your bait every time. Okay. So, any questions on that? No,
Do you
good.
find you need the drift to work that line, like slack and on and off?
Yep.
Or like is spot lock, is that?
On an electric outboard?
Yeah. Like,
Okay, if you've got no current, it's great, but when you've got current, it's too fast. The lines are too far at the back.
you need to sort of the boat.
Go with it. Yeah, so any current above, say 1.2 knots or 1.4 knots, in that depth, you have to drift with it. Yeah, don't spot lock it, whatever you do. Yep. Okay. So, what else did I tell you? Bait-wise. Okay, bait-wise, I definitely use mullet fillets is probably my number one. I do use a lot of pilchards as the burley, so to speak, on each hook. So on my circle hook, So can you see over there, guys? So on my circle hook, I'll get this a little bit further. So this is a hook. Whatever it is. I'll put a pilly on first, and I cut the pilchard, so that's the pilchard there. I'll cut it about there, and I just thread the hook through the eye. So the pilchard, this part here I use. I give the other part to my mate. And it'll look like this sort of thing. So that's the pilchard there, and it's through his eye. The hook's just through his eye, okay? And then I'll put the mullet fillet on. The mullet fillet's cut about the size of 2 fingers, sort of thing, like that size. So when you buy a mullet fillet, and it's normally quite depth, that's the depth of the cut you're going to do. So cut it horizontally, or vertically, sorry, if it's that way, cut it vertically. And then the last part, which is the tail, I leave a big chunk for I put a big bait on. And that's normally goes through, sometimes I'll do it once, it depends on the skin. If it's a crappy mullet fillet and it's soft flesh, I'll go through twice. If it's a good firm mullet fillet, I can go through once. Once is enough. It's very hard to pull it off. So I just go through the mullet fillet. It will hang down longer than the pilchard, of course, like so. Or sometimes I go through a second time, so it's sort of curled up on there, you know, onto. And that's it. But I always put the pilchard on. The pilchard. So when you're getting cod, especially, and I think flamies too, the pilchard, when they mulch on it, it just disintegrates everywhere and everything comes in on it. If you've got mullet fillets, they bite it, unless it's really crappy mullet and it falls apart. There's nothing really to get the other guys enticed. I believe it's a lot better. And as I told you guys before, a pro told us once that when you get a cod on, or even flamies, they try and they spew up their stuff, trying to get rid of whatever is in the thing, in the stomach, because they think it's a bad thing. And that spew, if you can hold the fish down, even a big one, and hold him on there, his mates will come around because there's stuff everywhere that he's just spewed up, and you get the second cod on. And a lot of times we've done that and caught many, many times 2 cod or 3 cod. Is that all right?
For the butterfly yakkers and stuff like that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, it's good. I just haven't had much luck, believe it or not. I've done a lot of live baits down there. Blue eye like it, and a bit deeper. But the flamies and that don't really care. They're just like mullet fillets or pillies.
Really.
Squid's okay too. If I run out of mullet fillets, I'll put this pilly on and a squid after the pilly, so the squid holds the pilly on, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, never put the pilchard on the other side, it'll fall off. Just the speed going down, you throw it in the water, the sinker goes splash, and 3 pillies go dunk, dunk, dunk. So you've got to put it on first. And the mullet fillet of the squid holds it. Okay. So my baits, I've got obviously 4 baits. So mullet fillet, pilly, mullet fillet, pilly, mullet fillet, pilly, or mullet fillet and squid, or at least 2 pillies on 3 hooks, if not 3. And everyone nearly has mullet fillet, and maybe mullet fillet squid. Squid's probably the least bait I use out there. A lot of people say squid attract the green eye sharks. Has anyone not caught a green eye shark yet? You're lucky. So green eye sharks like the piranhas out here. They're like the locusts of the deep. Like if you're a farmer, you'd hate them. So they are in plague proportion. It's the most prolific shark in the world. They grow from that to about that. They're really good to eat though, but the trouble is they're only allowed to keep 1 or 2 per boat, which is so stupid. But they're really good to eat. If you like flake, it's the best flake you've ever had. Super white colours, as white as that light there, you know. So it's really nice to eat. And I suggest you definitely keep one, at least, and try it.
Are they good bait, maybe?
Yeah, they are. So this is the thing we're trying to work out, because when the green eyes come on, you just cannot get a bait to the flamies or to the cod because they get to it too quick. And they know, like the other day we were out there last Tuesday, and the bite period was not until late in the day. It was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 6. And we went back to our flaming spot, dropped down, And the first drift we got 3 good flamies and we're going, yeah. Second drift we went back to exactly the same line. The wind hadn't changed, it's the same drift. We'd come down a track, it was exactly perfect. 3 rods went dung dung dung, bounced all over the joint. We're going, yeah, we just loaded up on flamies. Like, by this time it's like nearly 5 o'clock, it's starting to get dark. And so real high five, and then the 3 rods come up, and I had the first one to come up with 3 green eyes. My mate got 2, then Stu got 2, so we had 7 in one drop. And we're going, oh crap. Anyhow, so when they're on, you just cannot get another fish to get to the bait, right? Next drift, same deal. So someone told us recently that if you use them for the bait, they don't eat each other, but the cod will eat them.
I know I heard, like, when my father-in-law was a Victorian, right?
Yes.
Big on his gummy shark.
Yep.
And it's an absolute sin if you gut the thing and throw it in the water, right? Because you won't get another gummy shark. They'll just bug off as soon as they
Yeah.
see it. So why wouldn't you try it? Have you tried
It's
that?
too deep.
Gut it.
You can put it on your hook and drop it back down, maybe, might work.
Try to your sinker, who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Mate, I'm all for it, trust me. I want to get rid of those green eyes. But like, it definitely, I know they don't eat each other. So if you put the, as you said, if you put the, and the fish like,
You said you try stuff, that's all.
yeah, no, 100%. And no, mate, I haven't thought about putting another one on, just drop back down.
Use the guts, not the actual fish.
Yeah, actually, I might give that a crack. I don't have the, well, the people who watch this, it might be greening. Hey. But yeah, you might want to take the fillets off one when you're going to take home, and then the head, put the head onto the top hook or something like that off the snap, and put it on top, and they might not come near the baits, mate. But the other guys will. And actually, you're gonna, I'll give that a go and let you know. Okay, I'll video it.
Oh, look at those, it's
Yeah.
very Victorian.
Yeah.
Because you gotta
It's a good
cut
call.
the fins off and gut them straight
Yeah.
away, right?
Yeah.
To get all the ammonia out of it.
Yeah.
And if you shot, I didn't know that, I did one and threw it straight over.
Yeah.
And I got in big trouble making living enough.
Because the gummies didn't come back. So has anyone had trouble with green eyes, Eddie, yet? Yeah. Terrible things.
Yeah.
So 6 at a time. Well, using 6 hooks, very good. So,
They got 3 rods too.
oh, they do. They swim around in circles. They're hyper. So 2 things. I've been stabbed twice. I think it is now. Both times in the arm. So you got to grab them over the top on the gill area, and they'll bend around. They got a bone that sticks out of the top of the dorsal and one down near the tail, and they'll try and impale you with it. They try and spike you with it, and it's barbed. So I never got infected, but it does leave a bit of a hole. So and they wriggle when they get into you too. By the way, they wriggle. But yeah, so grab them by the gill and then take the hook out. And the hooks are they seem to get really well hooked too. By the way, they're hard to get off the hooks. So make sure you get a good decent pair of pliers or something to get it off. Give the head thing a go, mate. I'll let you know. Yeah. But other than that, you just got to move away from them. They're smart. They know. The next drift, they'll be lined up ready for you to drop.
That's right, they are
And-
smart. So once they smell the guts, they'll fuck off. And you
Yeah.
should catch your flaming.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it a crack. So that's about it on green eyes. But okay, just to understand the bottom where the fish are out here, guys and ladies. Firstly, this is our coastline here, and we've got sort of like that goes straight to 50 fathoms, which is around about 90 to 100 metre line. And then our next bit of sort of rough country is around about 230 metres, okay, in little bits and pieces. 280 to 300 is quite aggressive. Most of the coastline you can find something within, well, there might be a half a K gap of sand, but there's definitely stuff in that 280 to 300 metres nearly all the way down our coastline out here. And then once you get around 400 metres, that's when we start to get a little bit more aggressive on the bottom incline. So looking at this from a side angle, coastline's here, and this is going out to 100 metres. Once you get to 100, it sort of goes down a bit steeper. Once you get to about 400 metres, it goes quite steep. When you get to 500 or 600, it's quite aggressive like that. So you're talking like, 45, 40 k's there, say, and then you're talking probably to get out to say 1,000 metres. In some areas, about another 30 or 40 k's. Actually, that's probably not right. It's more like that. It sort of just steps down. So what people don't understand is they think, okay, I'm in 200 and something metres, and I've come 50 k's out to get to 200 metres deep. And to go out to say 400 metres, another 50 k's is too far. But it's not, it's only about 3 k's or 5 k's maybe. It's very close. And then from 400 to 500, as I said, it gets even steeper, it's like 1k. And then it gets, after that you don't fish anyhow. But that's off here. When you get down Tweed Way, it's even closer. So Tweed Heads is like, that would be like, say 25k, and that would be thousands, another 5k's. Straight up from Tweed, sort of things like 30, 35k's, you're ready, you're past the shelf in the abyss. So when we're fishing down Tweed in that 200 metre line, which I guess the GPS marks a bit later, but when we're in 220 metres fishing down there, to go out to fish, we're catching snapper and kingies and stuff like that there. And we want to go out to fish for bar cod about 350 metres, it's only another 1.4k. And then we want to go out to fish for blue eye in 5 to 550 metres, it's about another 600 metres. Very close. So
How far is it off Southport?
this is a problem with Southport. It's a problem for us. As in we're in a bay here. So does anyone not have avionics on their phone? Please put it on your phone. It's about $40 a year. It's called, you can get a 2-week trial period just to see what's like. Navionics boating. It's an app, and it's the greatest app ever, I believe. And it shows you in full detail release shading, which is like the same as your $400 map you buy, C-map or Captain's, what do you call it? Active Captain, that's right, thank you. It's the same thing, but it's only like $38 a year or something on your phone. And when you're on your mate's boat, you can do everything on there. You can see everything. You can take him to your spots, or you can track his spots, or whatever. Yeah. And you can have plot trail on the whole day and see where you've been. You can take photos of people holding up fish, and it records the lap, the long, and everything, and puts a mark on the screen as well. And you can go back and look at the little photo and you see everything, what day it was, where it was, everything. It's a great thing. And I just can't give it enough praise because we use that now more than the mapping thing because it's just, I don't know, it seems to be a bit more accurate. I don't know what it is. The release shading is so very good. It's very good. But what I was going to get at before was when you're, say, that's Point Lookout, South Stratty, Tweed Heads down here. And we asked about what's at the front of the seaway here. So this is the seaway sort of here. Actually, probably up a bit higher, about here. And the bottom out here is like quite average, but off Point Lookout, you've got these canyons that are quite aggressive. And then we don't have much until you get down to Tweed. And then we got like this canyon in here. And it goes like that. Then we have this big canyon here that's very close, and that's why it's very close down Tweed. And out the front here, all we have off Jumping Pin and Southport is 3, I don't know if they're meteorites or rocks or what they are. They're about the size of Ayers Rock. They're about probably 1.5 k by 1k wide sort of thing. And if you look on your map, they're earthed out around them, so they're like this big rock just land on the ground. And there's 3 of them. So one's called Riviera Grounds. It's a big rock here. Oh, sorry, it's about there. And then we've got Jim's, which is about 4 or 5k north of it. And out here we got Mix Mountain, which is out here. And we got Little Riv, which is another rock out here. And that's, I think that one there might be, it might be a rock, I'm not sure, or a mountain, but these are definitely rocks that are sitting on the bottom. And they come up about 120 metres high, 100 metres high. They'll come from sort of 520 up to about 420 on the top, or 400. And looking at on the map, that's the rock, like so. They'll have like this big unearthed area around like that, and tape it off at the bottom here, not so much. And this will be around sort of, I don't know, say 480, and then it'll drop down to maybe 510, and it'll come up to 420 on the top, sort of thing, you know. And there's like that channel around it, and there's a lot of fish sit in that, and they definitely sit on the top there as well. So that's like, has anyone been out to Jim's Mountain? Who's been to Jim's Mountain? And you'll know it looks a bit like that. There's a couple of little things in here we call a slot, a little split down here, and that's where your bar, cod and bass groper sit, in that deep little trench. And I'll sit over here too. This actually goes away to the side a bit like this. All right. And so when we're drifting, if the drift's south, and this might be, as I said, this is probably about 4 Ks, and that's about 1.5 Ks. So from here to here, quite a big drift. And if the current's going in this direction here, like that, I'll probably do one drift down this side, in this edge down the side here, and then I'll do my next drift. If I see fish on the sound in this area here, I'm going to do a drift probably down through there and try and get the edge of that slot, or in that slot on the way through. I may keep drifting down there, but I'll probably stop once the fish taper off and it starts to get sloped down the other end of it. And then I'll do another drift on the fish here down this side here. And there's always quite often a lot of fish hanging at the back corner here. And sometimes I'll start a drift here and I'll drift down through that. So you've got to really cross-reference it. Every point's the same, it just depends where you are. Cross-reference it and try and find out where the fish are biting on it and where they're sitting and feeding on it. That makes more the thing. There could be fish all over it, but they want to be feeding on one section of the rock. You've got to find which area. It's normally, like so many reef fishing, they're always on pressure points. And these have pressure points even down there, which will be obviously here if the current's going that way. So then that's why there's always a lot of fish at the top here. But sometimes the fish are there and they're just not biting there. We've seen fish to the bottom here as we go across up to there. So we'll do that little drift down there. Next minute, whack, 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 the rod's here. We'll get blue eye or whatever. And that's sometimes the case because they're not feeding there, they're feeding down there. You just got to work it out. But you've got these 4 rocks. That one's a bit deep, guys. That's comes from 1100 up to 780. So it's like a nearly 300 metre rise. It's huge. We have fished that twice. Haven't got a fish off it yet. Lost baits there, but it's really hard to fish. You've got to fish with like 4 to 6 kilo lead. And you need that big sucker. But other than that, as you'll see on this, maybe on its boating or on your active captain or whatever you might have, there's weird things out here like bulldozer marks, like tracks. It looks like a tractor goes along. Has anyone seen that on their maps at all? Perfectly straight. And if you look down south further, down, and I think up towards Fraser as well, there's a couple of places there where it's the dozer tracks are going along. I call them dozer tracks. And then there'll be a bit of rock here, and then you see them go this way, and it goes like this. And I'm thinking, there must have been a big tractor there back years ago. That's about 40 Ks across, because those tractor marks are about 3 Ks wide each. But they're rough, it's rough bottom. It gets stagnant all the time. So that tractor mark that's on the bottom there, which goes to GPS mark soon, it has reef all the way down it, and it runs, like I was saying here, it runs from about halfway up North Stratty all the way down to about off Southport nearly. And it's predominantly just inside of Jim's and Ribs. That's the best area, and it's in about 300 metres deep. Has anyone fished that at all yet? hits a barcode there at times. Do you have any luck at all? Then?
Yeah.
Got some barcode? Yeah. Yeah, it's good. You get flamies in the areas there too, but the flamies seem to be, I don't know why, but I haven't found them much out this area yet, but they're definitely halfway up Australia to all the way up past Lookout. That's the flamey area. They do get them down off Tweed, down to Brunswick, but that's the main area that they are. Has anyone here caught flame snapper yet? I know, yeah, Tom. Last weekend? Last week? Every weekend. I'd probably rate the flamies like in the top few fish we got out the Gold Coast here, maybe in Queensland, maybe in Australia. They are really good to eat. I don't know if you saw that thing I posted recently of the guys at Sydney Fish Market, but they're a northern species fish that has the deep water fat build-up of a barcod, if that makes sense. So they are really, really good. Has anyone not tasted flame snapper? It's very good. Tom, what do you rate them, mate?
I don't eat it.
You don't eat fish?
No.
Oh. You just stole my thunder, mate. Okay, those who have caught flamies, what do you rate them, guys? Pretty good? Yeah. They're right up there, so good, yeah, exactly right. They make pearl perch and pigfish look like just brim. Okay, and that's saying a lot. So any questions on this area out here, guys? You'll understand that? But if you go off the canyons of Lookout or the canyons off Tweed, that's the best areas, except for Jim's Mountain, and Riv sometimes, to catch blue eye. If you want to catch blue eye trevally, that's the best area.
Is that where you get out there?
Sorry, mate?
Is that where you get out there?
No, you get barcod, bass scrape, all the same deal. Yep. Actually, the only time I've ever pulled it, I had a trifecta once at Riviera Grounds, which is this big rock here, the one closest to the seaway, still 54 k's out, round about.
Where do you get your sickle concrete?
No, those we got the other day on here at Jim's. Yeah. Only small ones though, but I've got them on jigs, which I'll talk about in a sec. But the Riviera Grounds, I got it was on actually Creek the Coast if you watched it back in the day. I got I think it was about a 60 or 70 kilo bass groper, about a 30 kilo barcod, and about a 25 kilo big blue eye on the same line. So that was a go. That was on that big reel though. I don't think my other reels would have struggled. But yeah. So Davionics boating, look into it. Okay. Any questions on the deep drop gear at all, guys? Anything you want to know? Anything else?
Like the different species, they're different, obviously different depths. If we're targeting-
Yeah, flamies, I've caught them out now to 350 metres. We thought they only went to about 280. We've now got about
Is there like a Goldilocks zone?
430, have you? Yeah, so the gentleman said he's got about 430. Actually, we got to get one at 420, but not 430 yet. Yeah.
That's
So,
about 200, yeah.
sorry, mate.
Off Point Lookout.
Oh, Point Lookout. Okay. Big. They're big out there.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big.
big
Yeah.
ones, yeah.
So the bigger flamies, the biggest we got was in 380 or 350, was 1.4 metres, which is about 14, 15 kilo. Sorry, mate.
So is there like a Goldilocks zone, like there's 230 to 280?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so 230, 280, 230 to 320 or 300 is the flamey and barcod sort of hotspot. 280 to 350 is definitely barcod hotspot, more than 230 to 220. But up to 300 you'll get snapper, kingies and pigfish and all the stuff you're getting close to as well, but you won't get pearlies.
And blue eye, like big pie.
Blue eye, there's two types of blue eye. You get the oceanic blue eye, which is a longer, narrower type one, but they only grow to about 15 kilos. Average size is about probably 6 or 8, or maybe 10. I haven't caught those over about 400. They're in that sort of 320 to 420, say. And then the big blue eye, you don't get those much under 400. They're 480 to 550 is probably their honey hole. Yep. And the bass groper, same deal, 400 to 600. Yep. The problem with when you're fishing out in that on this edge, so it's gone now, but the two canyons area is it's too aggressively deep. Like you're talking like sheer 300 metre cliff. So you're in 580. There's fish on the sand, you can see them. and the next minute you're in 800. It's just too hard to fish it. And you've got to keep contact with the bottom all the time. It's just too hard. And you get very snagged up.
So where would you go, Dougie?
If I'm going to go chase, I love that Point Lookout area. And it's a long run, it's 70 k's from the Seaway. But, you know, it's funny, like down here we think 70 k's, well, it's too far. But you go up Bundy or Early Beach, those guys run 100, 120 k's average day fishing to go out somewhere, out one way. So for us, it's actually not that bad. You just got to get used to it. The problem we have here is we have no protection.
Yeah.
But in saying that, you're never more than about 50k or 45k off the coastline. That takes up the extra distance. So if it comes up rough, as long as you remember, once you get inside about 90 metres, inside that little cove, it's a bit more protection. So you've only got to go 20 k's or 15 k's and get out of the bad elements. But 15, 20 k's on a bad day could be a pretty long time. Scary time. Yeah. But where would I go? Yeah, I'd probably go, I like to fish halfway up North Australia to Lookout. The guys off Moreton have got it better. So how many guys here from Brisbane? You guys have got it better. So you've got two options. You can go off the Cape or you can go down off Lookout and out the front. If you don't mind too, Masako's going to grab your details and I'll send you guys through some different marks to the marks I have here, because most of these are sort of Lookout South. But she'll grab your seat numbers shortly. And then I'll send it through over the weekend to you. But you guys have more aggressive grounds in closer, like 300, 320 metres. And I know it's a long way to get out to the bar, but once you hit the bar, it's like 20k run in any direction. You're sort of in amongst it, you know. It's not too bad. And it's a lot less touched because to get around Moreton's a long way around, right? So where from here we sort of go out through the pin bar or from the Seaway up, and there's a lot more people doing it down here because the bar's so close. So it's harder for us to get to your area. So your area is more protected.
3 bugs down there every time.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, but where we go up here, Tommy chased the flamies in that sort of. We were probably the first to do it many years ago. But now I got there, and unfortunately, to be honest, this is a great thing. But if you leave it switched on to sharing, everyone sees your marks. You see their marks too, so be quick at getting them and turn it off. It's called community edits. But that's enabled people to grab other people's marks, and then once you get one boat, another boat. And radar's the thing. How many guys have radars on their boats? Even little boats have radars, you know. And you can look on and see a boat. And when you see a boat out over 200 metres stationary, they're not trolling. They're bottom fishing. So people just go on and go pink, and they got you. Even though you're 15 k's away, they can mark you. And then they put a mark on the screen. And next time they go out there and have a look, oh, this looks pretty good on the bottom. I'll drop it in here. And then next minute, some other guys drive along, goes, oh, what's that guy doing over there? I'm going to have a look. Oh, this looks good. Next time I'll come back and have a look. And then he goes there. Next thing, there's 3 boats there. But if you get to top of Point Lookout, in that area on the weekend, sometimes now I'll see 12 boats in the area. But in saying that, what we thought was only one probably from start 2010 to maybe 2018, we didn't have many areas right there. We only had a few areas, and there was no really shading back then. It was only sonar chart, which wasn't very accurate, by the way. It's very inaccurate once you get really shady, you realise how bad it is. And those days there'd be 2 or 3 boats, maybe in the whole area, you know, 30, 40k area out there. And we only had the 2 marks, and now I would have 40 flame snapper marks now, I reckon, maybe more. They're everywhere. There's fish everywhere. So you guys can't miss it. You can't miss it. But in saying that, some of these marks are in the proximity. You got to look around a bit. But yeah, you'll find them. Don't worry. But they are so good. And flame snapper, I believe, are like I love eating cod as well. But the flame is they're quite good. But Like I can see, they're not too bad. The limit's 5, but you get guys that get like 20 at a time. I think it's too many, you know. You don't need that many. 10's enough or whatever for your boat.
You say you get rubies out here too?
Yeah, you do. So we've put a couple of rubies in over time, but they are obviously more prolific up north. They get a lot more off Moreton than they do down here, and they get a lot down between Brunswick and Tweed. I've got a guy comes in here. I don't know if he's watching tonight, but a guy come in here. He showed me the photos. I couldn't believe they're bloody huge ones. They're like 20 kilo ones, and he was fishing in 600 metres. I was somewhere down that way. It won't tell me where though, but I'll find them. Don't worry. Somewhere down there. Off sort of halfway down to Brunswick Heads for Tweed.
I've got them about 15, 20 kilo of Booktown.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, so have I. We did a trip 2 years ago from Early Beach up to Cairns and fished the outside all the way up. So everywhere we went, we smashed rubies there, big ones, like you're saying.
Oh, but Flamies,
Oh, flamies as well. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're both. And that's what I'm saying. Flamies are a northern species, but they're down here. Once you get in that colder water, they get that fat build up, and it's so good to eat. Yeah, it's so good. Really good sashimi too. But we get a lot of other species. We get giant squirrel fish. Have anyone called a giant squirrel fish yet? They got razor blade scales on them with barbs on them, but they taste really good. We get a lot of big nannies out here, so southern nannies, but they're good size. They're like 45, 50 centimetres and 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos. Really good eating as well, really thick. We get the pomfrets, which we talked about earlier. Which ones, mate? Yeah, Alphacino. So we get a lot more of those jigging, which I'll talk about in a minute, but we also catch them now on baits in certain areas. So they're sometimes a bit hard to get on bait, but when they come to bait, they bite hard. So they're like a big orange goldfish sort of thing, and quite deep that way, and they're quite thick in the body. They're really good fillets, really good at meat, as you know. Oh, you don't know you don't eat fish, Tommy. They look really good. They're big red eyes, and they're great to catch too. We get things called a tang snapper. A tang snapper is like we get these mainly about 300 to 400 metres. They're like a big mango jack, but they're goldy colour. Goldy yellow. You haven't caught one of those out yet? We've caught a few now, and they're always around about 4 to 7 kilos. They're quite good size. Fight like crazy. Beautiful looking fish. They've got like that change colour from like those paint jobs on cars that goes to green, brown, all different colours. I mean, a whole different angle, they change complete colour. They're really cool.
What are those little things you catch for a
So we get those. That's ornate jobfish, and they're a dime a dozen out there. So if you drop down to the smaller hooks you got in your bag, which is a 6.0 or a 5.0 even, the smaller again, and put 6 of those on, you get 6 at a time. They are really good eating, mate. So good steamed, and they're getting bigger. So I've been catching those many years out here now. What were 33 centimetres, we're getting up to about 45 now, up to 1.5 kilos maybe. But you'll get them. They make the esky look full, and they taste really good. Anything out there tastes good. Yeah, except for what's one thing? Have you ever caught a oil fish out here yet? Anyone got one of those? My brother Paul got a monster one, about 35 kilo once.
Is that the one with the scale?
Yeah, it's got the barb.
Scale on it?
Yeah, it's got the dark colour with the big dark eye, and they look like a wahoo prehistoric sort of thing.
I heard they call that the poo-poo fish.
That's it. Yeah, so Paul didn't know, go to his neighbours in the streets and
Then you'll get the best shits.
yeah, you can't eat much, but it tastes so good. We actually had some on. We did a big cat reality trip this year, and some of the guys had smoked some, and we took it up there, and they took it up there, and we all ate some, and the toilet was pretty busy, but it tasted so good, smoked. Just to yeah, it's beautiful eating. Yeah, so just don't eat in moderate. Don't go crazy on it. Yeah, that's it.
We
Yeah.
got a few of those Chrysopias perch too.
Oh, I haven't done
They're
that one.
like bright purple and yellow. Weird.
Are they got are they more yellow with the purple band across the top of the head, sort of thing?
Yeah, they
I
sort
think
of
I've caught
they change.
like
Once you
a
put them in the esky, the colours are
like a lavender. They change. Yeah, I think I have got a couple of those. They're good eating too, by the way.
nice,
Yeah,
really white flesh.
yeah. Everything there's white flesh, guys. So if you're only new to catching deep water fish, you'll love it. You'll love the fish. That's what makes you keep going back and go back and back and back.
You ever get any gold out in?
Nope, not yet. It's sort of probably Double Island Point North. Yeah, I think. I don't. Has anyone caught gold bear off Morton yet at all? Don't think you will. They're like a flame snapper, but they're sort of yellow dotted, purple dotted things. Yeah. Catch and up north further, like on the Swains, you catch them at 100 metres deep. You know. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go to the deep jigging because we're going to run out of time. So deep jigging. So completely different. So this is now mechanical human, so human power. And the rigs that we're using, if you have anything in this sort of category, you're already in the run. So it's like looks like a whiting rod, but it's actually quite strong. This is rated to about 90 pounds, believe it or not. P5, I think. PE6, is it? P5, I think it is. So about 95 pounds, believe it or not. This will pull up, I know it pulls up, it'll pull up easy 40 kilo, 60 kilo bass groper. I don't know if you know, one of the guys that fishes up Red Lookout area, I don't know his name. He's really good, but that's all he uses a Torian 20, which is a Shimano reel there. And Casper Legenis, I can't remember his surname, sorry. But Casper anyway. But that's what he uses. They hold 600 metres of 50-pound braid, but only using 50-pound braid. Some of the guys even only using PE2, which is about 40-pound braid. The reason being, you have to get that little 400 or 500 or 600 gram jig down to the bottom. And if you can imagine putting that on the end of your bottom drop electric reel, it's going to take forever to get down the bottom. So because you're using 80-pound braid and thick as. So we're using super thin line, and it'll get down there quite aggressively straight down with say 400 grams of jig on there, and running about a 60-pound leader, 80-pound maximum. You can't go too heavy in the leader, but you can put a bite lead at the end around about 130 pounds, and it's a short one about that long, just maybe 300 mil, and just and drawn it. So that's the type of thing, and the jigs that we're using, the lightest would be around about 400 grams, around that sort of size there. And these are Japanese jigs. They're quite long, but they're very quick through the water, which is really important. Speed down is the key. And we're running hooks both ends. Okay, this is another jig that worked quite well too. This is actually a shorter, fatter jig, which seems to be getting a bit popular at the moment too on some of these jigs. That type of rig there like that. So we've got a dress hook at the bottom, another hook at the top, and running two hooks. But even on these big fellas, we're running hooks top and bottom. So who jigs for like kings and amberjacks here? You probably know you never run lots of hooks because it always gets caught up on the top and you've got to wind it back up again. And the reason being is because you're fast jigging, so you're going quite fast. But with this, it's gentleman's jigging. You just like teabagging. So you just lift it up and drop it back down. Very easy jigging. Well, it depends. Some people might jig the teabag a bit longer. But so we're going to put a video. We put one together, but we haven't finished it all yet because we didn't get many fish last trip. But on 3 different jigging technique styles. So one's teabagging, one's actually going quite fast, but we've got to be careful because we're running 2 hooks. So please understand, if you're running 2 hooks and the bottom hook swings up and gets caught on the line, you've got to wind the whole jig up all the way to the top and actually got to fight it because it's coming up sideways just to unhook that hook off. But if you're slow jigging, it never gets the chance to hook up on the line. So that's one of the reasons why we slow jig. Also slow jigging, the cod love it. They love slow jigging. They don't like fast jigging too much. You can go a little bit fast, but not too fast. So, and your drag's got to be set reasonably tough because once you hook up that rod, even though it's quite a strong rod, it'll become vertical. It'll be down like that. And you've got to sort of like just lift it and wind a bit until you get it. It's going to take you about probably 20 minutes to get him about 20 metres off the bottom. Once you get him about 20 metres up, then the rest becomes still hard, but it becomes easier to get him up. But the first 20 minutes is really hard going. Has anyone had it caught a big cod out here yet on a jig? No, you'll find out. You have? Did you fit? And did you?
Oh, not a massive one, but
Okay.
30 kilos.
That's okay. And do you feel the same scenario? Like at first it was really hard to get to the bottom?
Ridiculously difficult.
Yeah, that's right.
To gain the first pit.
Correct, yeah. So we found that we've caught a few now. So once you get, and real big ones like 60 kilo ones, you know, once you get them, you've got them, and you've broken their back, so to speak. Then it just becomes a bit of a struggle, a little bit here and there, a little bit here and there, and it's just a slow lift to the top. When you get it to about 80 meters, they'll pop, and then it's just easy winding. I'll just come up to the top, and then it's like bucket list ticked. Okay. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Stuart, your turn. Yeah, Stuart. I don't know if you saw the one we did on Facebook recently. It was Timmy who does the sinkers, and do you know the story? Do you see the picture of the two jigs hanging out of its mouth? Stewie probably tells everyone, but I'll tell you again. So Stewie's jigging away, and we were going all day. We got a few fish that day, and anyhow, Stewie hooked up straight at the bottom. I said, "Mate, you get the bottom." He goes, "Nah, it's a fish." I was giving him a chick. I knew it was a fish. I said, "Stewie, at the bottom." He goes, "No, it's a fish." And he's like, and it's like his rods just went there like that. He's like, "I've got it." And then it took him maybe 30 or 40 minutes to turn it, to get it up. He got up about 3 colours. Timmy on the other side, Timmy, my son Jack, on the other side of the boat. It's a big boat, 40-foot carbo of this. And they're jigging over the other side, going away. Stewie's line's out there. Stewie's already told me to bring my electric up, so I brought that up. And he's fighting this fish over there, they're over there. And then I was doing something, and he goes, "Oh shit, it's gone, I've lost it." And it took him about, I don't know, 15 minutes to wind his line to the top because it's manual, winding it up. And anyhow, in the interim while he's winding it up, Timmy over the other side there goes, I'm on. And I'm going, "Oh, good fish, Tim, good, right?" He didn't take long to turn it. He'd already had it coming up within about 5 minutes. So Tim's fighting it. And then Stewie's finally got his line to the top while Tim's fighting over there. And Stewie looks at it, and there's a little bit of green mark down his clear leader. And he goes, "Someone cut me off." He's like so mad. Someone cut me off. He's holding a bit of lead like this, and Tim's too busy winding his fish up. Anyhow, then Tim finally got the fish to the top, and as it came up, I went to leader it, to gaff it, and I saw Stewie's jig hanging out the side of his mouth. And so I go, "Oh, Stewie's got 2 jigs." And Stewie's like, just threw us out of the way. He goes, "Where?" He goes, "That's my fish." Anyhow, and Tim's just like glorified because he actually got it. But the fish, they're so tough. Like he's had it on for 20 minutes, and the fish is just like broken off. Got this. It's one of these, 720 gram, I think it was, or 800 gram lure hanging in its mouth. Well, it must be pulling down a little bit. And he's going along and hit the next lure and eaten that, while this one's hanging out of his mouth, you know. So he swam, and we must have drifted in that period. I'd say, I don't know how far, maybe 50, 80 metres. He just swam along with us, and obviously just picked the next one, and Tim got it. So it's the first time I've ever seen a fish that was in 420 metres come up with 2 jigs in its mouth. But it was on the outlet, just like that. That's it. Although he's using an Oshia 4000. So something like this is going to cost you around about, I think this deal comes in around about $6.99 spilled up, but the Oshia jigger is another class above it, like a fair bit above. And that's our biggest seller. So Oshia 2000s, they jig up to about 300 metres, 350. And the Oshia 4000 can jig up to 700 metres or 600 metres. Oshia 2000 and this one here both hold about 600 metres of 50-pound braid, and the 4000 holds about 800. Okay.
The lever bits for jigging.
Sorry.
The lever bits for jigging.
The leader weight.
No, the die weight.
Leo Brits.
Oh, Leo Brits. Yeah, the Leo Brits. So that's the one I was talking about earlier. That's the electric one. So imagine that with a nice little electric reel like this on there, and you're doing the same tea bag and whatever way you're doing it, and you can do it mechanically by hand as well. But it does have a little toggle switch. You can actually go like that and toggle, and it'll take the sucker. Toggle, take the sucker off. You don't have to wind it. Then when you hook up, just get the rod holder, and then just push the button, and you can go and make coffee or whatever. And let the rod do the deal. Yeah. And the few guys we sold them to, we got everyone in Australia got like little dribs and drabs of them, and we sold out straight away. But we've got them on order waiting from Diver, but they are really good. They're quite well priced. I think at $8.99 for the reel. Yeah, but they're just not available at the moment. But anyhow, that's the rod and reel. But getting to the jigs now. So if you're jigging, normally by jigs, it's normally like a gram a metre. Does that make sense? So if you're jigging in 200 metres, 200 grams would be that's the minimum, not the maximum, the minimum. So 500 metres, 500 grams, and so on, up to double that weight. So if you're in 200 metres, you can fish up to about 400 grams, and you can fish at minimum about 200. So you can fish something like that for flamies, or for you get bar collar set in 230 metres, 250 metres, 280 metres, or you could jig something like that one we had before, at all that sort of thing. There's all different colours at 400 grams. Okay. Once you get out there to 300 metres, and depends on the wind and current again, you've got to up the ante to around 500 grams. That's some of that. That's one of the mustards. They're really good. Name of it though, but they're really good in here. That colour there's, by the way, if you're at the reef, that's the best colour for trout. Smashes it. But down here, cod's really good. Then you go to sort of like that's 560, that size there. So just a bit chunkier than those Japanese ones we had. And then you sort of short 500, then jump up to 760 or 720, sorry. So these Ocean's Legacy, we sell lots of these. That's our deep water jig we sell most of. And then you jump up to about 900 grams for the big sucker, that fella there. And it's like if you jigged 200 or 300 grams in 50 fathoms for kings and amberjack, you know how hard a work it is. It is hard work, but I said it's slower jigging, so it's not hard. Like it's not fast hard.
Or you're just lifting up and down?
Just lifting up and down.
Okay.
Oh no, you do recover a bit of line up too, Tom.
Yeah.
So you still got you can teabag it up and down, and guys do. I don't do that much. I like to recover just a little bit. Just slow one turn, like do slow pitch jigging for snapper and stuff with ball jig, same style, but it's just heavier. Yeah, and just slow, bring it up. Yeah, and get and then whack, let us jump on. And but you'll get sometimes like you think, oh, is my lure hooked up on the side, and you pull up an old Alphonse or whatever small fish. Yeah. Hook rigs on the, as I said, top and bottom hook rigs, both ends. And in hook rigs, you need to have a fairly decent hook on, because it's not so much the line's 50 pound, but it's more the power of their jaws. So if they're crushing or whatever, and you've got too light a gauge, it may just bend the hook and pop out. So you want it to hold in there good. The lead that's attached to those bigger hooks is quite strong, so it'll never go to part at that area. If they do take it down their gut and swallow the jig down, then you've got the added advantage of that little bit of heavy lead at the bottom, like I was telling you about. We do use a bit of Lumo down there. Obviously, you got no other Lumo, but I might just get you guys. Did you mind just to flick the switch just there to your side there, mate? I'm trying to find my torch here. Here it is. Mate, do you mind? There's a little switch on the top there, I think it is, love. That's it. Perfect. Okay, so I got a little. You see stuff glowing here already. A little blue torch here. So do you all know what a UV torch is, like that sort of thing, that sort of colour? And it's very quick to make something glow. So if you can see it's glowing a little bit there like that, and I'll just run this down the side, and it like supercharges it. Can you see that? How quick it is? That'll last for quite a while actually. Some brands don't last very long. Some brands are really good. Blue is one of the honey colours, which means it just works really, really well, as I keep saying. And that's a blue one there. Those white skirts I was telling you about before for the pearl perch and stuff like that, they actually glow blue, and they're on your rig that you've got there. Let's charge it up a little bit here. It's hard to go through plastic, but you see that's blue colour. And that's what pearlies and flamies just go bonkers on. Okay. Where normally your skirts are sort of that greeny colour. The sinkers, you can actually see it like drawing on it. Can you see that? that's how these torches just charge up. So you can see that. And it makes the difference, guys. So definitely. I think Timmy's going to win on that one. UV line. Okay, so normal line. It's hard to see here, but it doesn't make that UV sort of colour. But if I get a UV line, can you see how the difference is? How much it's alive, and that just seems to make the difference in the fishing as well. So that lighter one, which we've got over here on the rod, which I've got all tangled up and it's dark. Sorry, sabotage myself. There we go. So it's UV. You can see how bright it is, and these skirts are the blue. So these are charged up a bit more, but it just makes the difference. I don't know what it was. I said before, I don't know what it does, but it definitely enhances the fishing massively. Yeah, but anyhow, there's just a lot of stuff is UV, like that pink UV. It's super bright. You can see that. If you try and charge it on normal pink, it doesn't want to come up. These things are UV. That jig before, that one with the double-ended one, they come with a treble because they don't rig them up unless we rig this up. They can buy the stuff to make it up themselves, but they have like this supercharged UV thing down the side here, like that glow, which obviously would entice them. Anyhow, UV is endless, guys, but it definitely is the difference in fishing, whether it be flatties or deep dropping. It's the difference. So, thank you, sir. Thanks, Alf. If you don't mind to turn that back on, thank you. So it's the same area that we're fishing for with the deep droppers. You're going to be jigging exactly the same, guys. No difference. So 3 actions we're talking about 4. So one's teabagging, one's slow pitch, and one's just a little bit faster. Okay. And Timmy, the guy that does the sinkers, he does a lot of. He uses 2 hands and he's quite fast jigging. I don't know how he doesn't get hooked up. He doesn't get hooked up with the second hook, but he seems to nail it. But he's keeping up to the line the whole time. Doesn't get any slack to fall. He doesn't really give much time to fall. So sort of coming up like that. He'll pull it up like about 30, 40 metres off the bottom before he drops it back down again. And he's using normally about 700 grams, quite heavy. But he's quite good at it. And there's quite a few guys that are really good. We've got a few customers that are really good at jigging in the deep, and they get a lot of fish, a lot of big cod, and bar cod and bass groper. Yeah. Is there any questions on that at all?
What's the difference in the retrieve speed?
They're all around about that 6 to 1. Okay. Yeah, or 5.5 to 6 to 1.
So similar to the OSHA.
Yeah, similar to the OSHA, that's right. Yeah, that's just a cheaper version. So that's like a few models down. So the OSHA ones, which is our biggest seller, they're made in Japan and they're Malaysia made. So when I did that trip up on Big Cat, those are all the guys that were all like YouTubers or whatever they are. So that sort of guy, social media type guys, and a lot of the guys I didn't know before, and of the 16 guys on the boat, 15 had OSHA jiggers, and they're all from all different demographics here in Australia. It's just the go, yeah. But they still work very good. I said Casper, that's all he uses, and he's probably one of the best jiggers out here.
Yeah, I have a 4,000, and it's
Yeah.
a nice reel.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to heaps of them.
No, that's right. Yeah. But you've got to understand when you do that deep water jigging, like most of them 4,000 is probably running 80 or 100 pound braid to get rid of that and put 50 on, or P4, which is 70, would be the heaviest you put on, just so you can get 600 or 700 metres on there. Yeah. Do you want to just take a number of the guys from Brisbane now, don't you? Yeah. Sorry. Is that in the way? Okay, call out your seat numbers if you don't mind, guys, if you can remember it. If you're from Brisbane.
11 and 12.
11 and 12.
Can we get even if we're not in Brisbane?
Yeah, of course you can. Or do you want me to send out to everyone?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll send out to everyone. Because you guys have got the southern ones, so we're going to get your ones, okay? Yeah. Okay. Guys, anything else I can help you on at all on the deep dropping? No one's asked about moon phases or bite times. Bite times are critical. Like the other day, we knew it was going to be a quiet bite during the day. It was a morning early bite, 4 to 6:30. We got there at 6:30. We'd missed it. and they just didn't bite. It was just like fish on the sound, everything just switched off. And we went through the whole day. We maybe got 20 small fish, nothing really flash, no cod, no blue eye, and they're on the sounder everywhere. And then we had a choice of going back to the blue eye or coming a bit closer because it's getting dark, and do the flamies. So we decided to do the flamies in a bit closer. And as soon as we got there about 3:30, 4 o'clock. It was right on the start of the bite time, and bambo, they just come on the bite. But then the green eyes come on the bite. So when we're deep dropping, we always look at the bite time on either Fishing Reminder. If you look at that app called Fishing Reminder, it's really good. It tells you the bite time, and it's very accurate. Windy's not too bad. Some windy programs, depends on which one you in with Windy on the app on your phone. If you pay for it as an extra, it allows you to click on a little thing on the screen, and then it brings up the fish bite for the next sort of 5 days or 7 days. If you just got a standard model, it won't show you that. But Fishing Reminder does. So Fishing Reminder is your best app to find out what the fish are biting, when they're going to be biting. If it says 2 o'clock today, they'll come up 2 o'clock today. It's a guarantee.
What's it called again?
Fishing Reminder.
Fishing reminder.
Reminder. It's very good. Yeah. What else can I tell you about that? So moon phases, I really like a few days before the full or a few days before the new moon. After it's not as good as before. So, and like, which is like the quarter moon going down to the new moon, or the 3/4 moon before the full moon, if that makes sense.
What's tomorrow like?
Tomorrow is actually a 4-star fish day. It's actually the last of the 4 stars. Weather-wise, it's supposed to be northwest 15 to 20 knots, I think, but drops out in the afternoon for about 2 hours, between about 2 and 4. Then there's has anyone seen the southerly coming? Don't plan. It wasn't meant to happen, and we actually just did a fishing report this afternoon. This is crazy. And it said Sunday's actually a better day. That showed 8 to 10 knots. Saturday was 15 to 20, I think. Now there's this low that forms Sunday off about Fraser, and it's very quick and quite aggressive and very early. As Drew and I talking today about it, tonight about it, very early for this time of the year, and it hooks down here, and there's a massive high, 1,035 or 37 in the bite, and when you get a low, tropical low, like a Pacific low, and a big high coming across, and they hit, you get this really strong southerly, and it's always off the Gold Coast. So the gusts on Monday are 45 knots, and Sunday it'll come in sometime. I don't know when. So it wasn't meant to happen until about Wednesday or Thursday, but it's all been brought forward 2 days. So now everyone, hopefully, if you're watching, don't go out on Sunday. We said it's going to be the day to go. You'll come a gutser. It's not the best. So this weekend, guys, I don't think it looks really good for you. But the fish and bite is crap from tomorrow, Saturday anyhow, a little bit. I'll be planning for the following weekend. Yep. Because that's the new moon's just gone. You're coming up to the full moon the end of next week, I think it is that right? So that just before the full moon would be a good bite. Yep.
It's one thing to see the bottom, it's another thing to see fish on the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, good question. How do you zoom in and that stuff like that? So no, one's enough. So depends on the brand of sounder. It is a definite must, and how your transducer is mounted. So if you're mounted, your let's start at 600 watts. 600 watts is a standard good transducer on most goods units these days. It'll go out to about, you'll get flamies and obviously pearlies and stuff like that up to 200 metres or maybe 250, 280. And then at about 300, it'll just drop out. In about 280, if you try to zoom in, it won't work the best. As soon as you start zooming, it needs more power and doesn't work very good. That's over the back. If you got it mounted through the hole or in a wet box, you probably only get about 220 out of it max. You drop about 80 metres or 20%, 25% power. 1 kilowatt on some brands like Simrad I had a 1 kilowatt on my Haynes and just a Simrad 2003, and I could be doing 20 knots in 500 metres and looking at the bottom 20 metres like it's a broadwater. It was incredible. But I had chirp on it too. And Garmin's are pretty good. Lowrance, you need at least 1 kilowatt as well. You really need 1 kilowatt, guys. If you've got a bigger set and you're using a box inside the hole, you'll need 2 kilowatt to do it really properly. If it's external, 1 kilowatt should be enough. And if you've got chirp, it's even better. Yeah. When you get over about, I'll try and run 200 kilohertz if I got a 1 kilowatt or a 2 kilowatt out to about probably around about 250 to 280 metres. Then over that I'll switch to 50 or 83 or even lower than 50. And when I'm out in say 500 metres, you're definitely running, or 400, definitely running 50 or even 20, I think it's 23 or 28. You're running right down low. So, yeah, low chirp. Yeah, the beam's very narrow and all the power's emphasised on that area. And when you zoom in, you need all the power you can get to zoom up. So you zoom, even though the bottom's a lot more, like out here, a lot more enhanced. So out here, if you're in say 24 fathoms and the bottom comes up 6 metres, when you're looking between 0 and 50 metres, 6 metres is quite a rise. You'll see it quite easy. When it's zoomed in, it'll look like a bloody skyscraper. But if you're out there, it's got to be at least 20 metres to even look like a little pimple on the bottom, or 50 metres maybe. So if you're running flat 0 to 400 metres in say 320, unless it comes up about 30 metres or something, it won't even show on the bottom, it's like a flat line. But you zoom in, all of a sudden there's this big rock and you go, holy crap, I just drove over it, didn't know it was there, you know? So you have to run zoom all the time. And you should run around about, we run about a 30 metre or 40 metre zoom, which sounds quite a lot when you're fishing out here, it's like at the top to the bottom on 24s, you know? But out there the pinnacle's a lot bigger, or the fall's a lot bigger, and the fish schools a lot bigger. Everything's bigger. So the fish schools out there quite often are 30, 40 metres thick of fish. There's a lot of fish out there. Yep. Fuel's the other thing too. Make sure your fuel's good. I don't know what sort of motors you guys have got, but if you're running an E-Tech or an Optimax or something like that, you probably need to have it, if you're on a 6 or 7 metre boat, at least 250 or 300 litres for the day to be safe. If you're running 4-stroke, say around a 200 horsepower, probably 200 litres should be enough, round about. But if you're running a 300 horsepower, you probably run about 300 or 400 litres. You're running twins and just double everything. Depends on how big it is. Because you're doing around about, to do a good day out there, go up off lookout, and a little bit of current again, up and down, up and down, you're going to do at least 200 k's for the day. So you can count on at least 1 litre or 0.8 of a litre per k, whatever your boat uses. Mate, yeah, don't run out of fuel, it's not nice, it's scary. Okay, especially the wind comes up. The other thing too is radio. So radio out there doesn't work very good, guys, so you know that too, unless you've got a really good radio or a moonraker area or something. So remember channel 82, that's the repeater station. So if you can't get a hold of it in an emergency, switch to 82, and 82 is the repeater station of Mount Tambourine when it's working, okay? So if it's working, you're fine. Sometimes it doesn't work, but it'll definitely, it's like the enhancement you get of your power through your radio is about tripled. So it's like being on 36s and talking to Seaway, but yeah, 60k out. And what else can I tell you? If you've got Starlink, that'll work out there, no problems at all. Just let you know that. I don't know. I don't have it, but I know from customers that do have it.
And I just bought one of those bivvy sticks. You heard of those?
No.
You can send a text, and it sends a text with the GPS maps.
Oh, does it really?
It's a subscription, but it's not expensive. It's a little device.
Yes.
I keep it just hooked onto my life jacket.
Well done.
And the battery charges for days.
And you push a button to activate it, or?
It's also got an emergency button on it.
Yep.
It's just activated. It's on your phone and app.
Oh, right.
It turns it into a sat phone, but you can only text.
Oh, wow.
You can actually text messages.
Do you have to text the waypoints, or it knows automatically?
Fortunately, my wife knows where I am now, so she can text me on. Say where are you, what time, but it's really good.
I don't want one of those.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
Bibby, B-I-double-B-Y.
Bibby
B-I-double-B-Y,
stick.
Bibby stick, yeah.
Okay, I remember that. For those guys listening, that's it.
A BCF, isn't it?
Yep,
How much are they, mate?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
$10 or something like that, maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, great tool.
Yeah, it works
Yeah.
really well.
Another thing I saw that's really good too, guys, just in case your boat does go over, hopefully there's no sharks around, is a guy I showed me the other day. He's got like his a spare life jacket and like a bit of water and flares and V-sheet in like a duffel bag, and they've got like a release cartridge on it. So if your boat goes down, it's like a hydrostatic type release, and it blows away from the boat and floats up to the top. And then you just go and grab that and whatever gear you want out there and turn the beacon on or whatever, if you don't get time to do it on the other one. Yeah, and I think he said it was only about $200 or $400 or something. Yeah, so they're a great thing too. But I don't know the name of it, sorry. But it's just in a little duffel bag that's all wrapped, like waterproof. Yep, just keep it somewhere. It can't be in a cupboard though. It's got to be open so it can get out of the boat. Yep, yep. Safety is very paramount out there, okay? Yep. Okay guys, I really appreciate you giving me the time tonight. Is there any questions at all? Anything you want to learn tonight that you didn't know about? There's probably heaps of things I could tell you, but time's got us.
The
All
only
good?
thing, though, is when we've been deep dropping and trying to jig at the same time,
Very hard.
I realise you have to like
Yeah.
sort of drop at the same time.
Yep.
Have the guys deep dropping
Yep.
further forward in the boat and
Yep.
have the jiggers off the back. Otherwise,
So-
it's just a nightmare.
So, yeah, my suggestion is unless your boat's at least 40 foot and got a 5 metre beam, is you can't do it. You got to do either jigging together or deep dropping together. So there has to be.
Try to do it.
Yeah, I know. It's really hard, and the common problem is the deep dropper guys, their lines are using heavy rates. They're straight down, like you said, drop it forward. The guys that are dropping the jigs out, their lines out like that, and the guys at the back of the jigs will say, "Can you back up, please, because my line's way at the back." They don't want to jig like that way, you know. They want to jig straight down. As you go back to get them happy, the guys at the front, their lines are going right at the front past the front of the boat. They're going, hey, stop, slow down, my line's at the front of the boat, I don't get a bite of what's going on, you know. And then it just becomes a big tangle, because then you end up going sideways and a whole lot drifted together. And it's like, so you've got to do one or the other. That's the only way you can do it.
Well, we found if you use a really heavy jig though,
Oh, really heavy jig's okay.
it's not.
Yeah. But, and when you're dropping jigs, you've got to all drop at the same time with a similar type jig. Yeah, if one guy's at the front of the boat and he's got a live jig, the guy at the back, it's a trouble. Yeah. And some guys don't understand when it's hit the bottom, they'll just keep letting line out, and then that gets caught around everyone's line, including the guys that are deep droppers. Becomes a nightmare. Propellers, another thing too, guys, when you're backing up on it, you've got to really watch where the lines are. So really important, because you don't want to get your line wrapped around the prop, because it can become a problem, and especially got sharks around the boat, you need to get out the prop to get it off. My suggestion is to have some duct tape on the boat. Many times we've had to do this. We've got caught it and it's got like that wrapped around the prop. And the prop's like hard to turn, you know, or can't turn. So we have duct tape, and we duct tape a knife to the end of the gaff, and we use it like a saw and just cut on the prop. Because you can't get out to it, you know, too hard in some boats. So you've got to improvise. So have some duct tape on the boat.
Have a mask and jump over.
Oh, with the sharks swimming around, it's not good. Yeah, I don't know about that. There's been a lot of sharks. Has anyone had sharks around their boat set there recently? You can drop over, jump. I don't mind. But we've had a lot of. I don't know if they're bull sharks. Just oceanic whales, I think. But they've been like 8 foot or so, and they're very acquisitive. They come up the back of the boat and swim in the boat. As soon as you throw something in the water, you know. Actually, that day, Stu will tell you, we had a shark when Tim was on that jig. I think Stu was trying to get into each Timmy's line, but Stu ended up having, because we had a shark kept coming around and coming close. We thought he was going to get this cod when he gets closer to the top, you know. So Stu was sacrificing and tying on pilchard, a bit of mullet, and just free casting it and hooking the shark up and letting it run while Timmy got a few more pumps on it. And I think Stu actually had it on. I think he got cut off maybe 5 times in that period because it took forever to get it up. And it was running out there while we got the fish in the boat, and that's when Stewie said, "Hey, what's that?" And but I don't know if I want to jump in the water. Okay, guys, we're going to do the draw. And then we're going to tell you about the prize. Price is that still on there? Okay, so tonight's prize. First prize is around just under $500. And it's in this bag here. Bag of goodies. You can draw the first one now. So we've got about $1,300 worth of gear tonight. And it is number 10. Somewhere in the middle there. Well done, buddy. Good on you. Congratulations, mate.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. Cheers, mate. Hopefully that'll get to use to you. The next one, I think, is just around 300 or just under 300. Maybe that's 300 actually. Graham, you're up, buddy. Stewie really wanted to be here tonight because he's a crazy jigger out there, eh? 25. Thank you, mate. 25 down the back there somewhere. Well done. Thanks, Graham. Cheers, matey. Thank you. Well done, mate. Thank you. Okay, third one. I think third one's around $200. Thanks, Dan. Number down the back end, 27. Must be your mate, maybe. Oh no. Well done. Misako. Next one, I think it's around 100 and something. Oh, geez, they're big numbers. Sorry, the guys at the front row here. Number 22. Down the back there somewhere. That's what you get for flicking the light switch off and on, mate. You get paid for it. Well done. Cheers, mate. Okay, Graham.
Number 3.
Number 3. That's one of you guys. It's got to be.